Hello, everyone. This is Pamela Topchian, and I am the host of Holistic Connections Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. And I have a special guest here today, and I can't wait for you to all learn about everything that she does. So, if you could please introduce yourself and share with us what you do in the holistic healing world.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Taylor Caruthers. I am the owner of Metanoia Innovative Solutions. And within my business, of course, we'll talk about all of the things, but within my business, I am a spiritual guide. I also am a healer trained in Reiki, breathwork, Theta healing, along with being an astrologer. And I have been in business for a little over 2 years now, and really excited to be here today and just open up and see what comes out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. So many hats that you wear. Oh my goodness. So many different things that you do. You said metanoia, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
And we talked a little bit beforehand, but if you can explain a little bit about that, what meaning is.
Yeah, so shocker, so in my full-time life, I've been a nurse for about 16 years and
Hmm.
in healthcare operations management for the last decade. And I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was not a little girl or even a young adult who ever thought about I like my paycheck every 2 weeks. I like not having all this
Right.
extra stress of like where are things coming from. But I was inspired to start my business, and I knew I did not want my name in it, which I know is kind
Mhm.
of atypical for a lot of people, especially in the coaching space.
Right.
And I love words. Before I was a
Hmm.
nurse, I actually wanted to be a journalist. So writing is a big passion of mine. And I was searching and searching for words, and got it narrowed down because this was before Chat GPT was popular. Probably
Yeah.
could have named my business a lot faster.
Yeah.
But I came across metanoia, and it was different. It was not a word that I had heard before. And one of the definitions, there's some biblical influence in there, there's some spiritual influence in there, but the definition that I love is transformative change of heart. I went with that because that is what I want people to experience when they work with me and my company. And when I am no longer in this realm, this is something that I also, desire to be a legacy. I want, kids, grandkids, etc. Like, so that was another big reason for like not putting my name in it.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that transformative change of heart is like that is the goal of the experience that I want people to have. So I decided to go with it, and that name was not taken in the state of California. And I also like went with innovative solutions over, coaching or something because I do so much and I'm always learning and always growing. So
Yeah.
I know that it doesn't mean, too much because you can always DBA as whatever, but
Hmm.
I wanted to leave things broad to allow for my own growth, the company's
Right.
growth.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how we got there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And so great to be forward thinking like that. Absolutely. And most people in the holistic healing space do grow and continue to add on different certifications and different trainings within the holistic healing space. So you had mentioned a list of offerings that you have that you do with folks. I noticed too on your website you have like different pillars. Is it different, just sort of stages of
Yeah.
what you have to offer? Okay, so when you do all these different things that you do, the coaching, theta healing, Reiki, astrology, all of that, how do you decide, or do people come to you and say, I'm looking for Reiki? Or do they say, this is my issue, and then you work out with them what's going to be most helpful for them? How does that
I love
work?
I love that question because I'm also in the process of like gutting my website like most people
Oh,
because I got a website way before I even needed a website, but we will talk about that later. When I first started, I based my offerings off of my journey and my experience. I was in 50 million programs. I'm not even exaggerating. I had so many different coaches, so many different voices, and
yeah.
I've told 6 and 7 figure coaches like to their face, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And they're like, well,
Hmm.
is what you're doing working? And I'm like, no, but I'm not doing that. So like I know enough within myself that like
Yeah.
that's not what I'm doing. So I treat everybody for, there's something in my content, there's something, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a live collaboration, a bundle, all the things that happen. And a lot of my referrals lately have honestly been from like in person. I live in Southern California,
Oh,
which is like a mecca for spirituality and healing. So it's like not as hard as when I was, in New York, just
right,
night and
right.
day.
I came from
So
Missouri, so I
yeah, so
understand.
there's like there's not a place where you like go do breath work regularly, and
And people
and
wouldn't
I
even
was
have
in
heard of
Western
that.
New York, so it's like not a thing. But yeah, so basically I am super intuitive, and I use cards like I mean Oracle, Tarot, whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
usually when people come to me, they're curious. And we, with permission, with consent, I tap into their higher self, ask them if they want some card or some pendulum
Yeah.
guidance. Sometimes people come with, I want to do XYZ. So, like
Mm-hmm.
lately, this year in particular, I've been helping people launch their businesses because
Mm.
they don't need to make all the mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
And we can do it a heck of a lot faster and a heck of a lot cheaper because you can be successful if your first purchase is not a $10,000 program. You can absolutely like
Right.
still learn and do what you need to do to show up. So basically, it's really I do have some kind of like set packages that people can
Mm-hmm.
just purchase, but if we find ourselves in a discovery call type of situation, it really is about just finding out like, okay, what are your goals? What do you want to work on?
Yeah.
And then again, like I said, with consent, tapping into their highest self, whoever shows up, their spirit guides,
Mm-hmm.
my guides, what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
I share that with them. And most people don't come to me and say, I want Reiki or I want Theta healing. Theta
Mm-hmm.
healing is also like a newish modality that's only like been around for a few decades. So it's not as ancient as Reiki and breath work and things like
Right.
that. So people aren't typically, at least in my experience thus far, like messaging me like, hey, can we do a Reiki session? That's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely possible, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't really, you know, my coach would be very proud of me saying this. Like people don't care about the how. They want the
Yeah.
result. They don't know how much breath work that's going to take, how much journaling, how many sessions of this and that. So I try to just find out what is their goal, what's bringing you here, how did we come into each other's sphere,
Yeah.
and sometimes that does look like a custom, program because again, a transformative change of heart for you versus for me, for someone else. If the top of mind thing is getting their business launched and turning this thing that they thought was impossible into a real thing, then we do that. So I've been
Yeah.
offering a lot of OBM services, which online business manager for like the last year and a half. So yeah, it just really depends on what that person is
Yeah.
seeking and how we met, where we met, and the
Yeah.
conversation usually goes from there.
So looking at their goals and what kind of healing or what kind of transformations they're looking for, then you work together to figure out what might be best. Yeah, I love that too, that people aren't necessarily looking for the how because that's why they're asking you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to come with like, I need three Reiki sessions. I need
Right.
blah, 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 blah. I've been, doing a lot of more astrology workshops
Mm-hmm.
and teachings around that because 2025 is a once in a lifetime year astrologically for so many different
Mm.
reasons. But a lot of people are in their awakening path and
Yeah.
curious of like, what the heck is the sun, moon, and rising? And like, what does that mean to me?
Yeah.
So a lot of the conversations lately have stemmed from, looking at, hey, let's do a chart reading and kind of going from there. And then, the program that I am launching now is literally based off of the OBM work. So
Mm.
it was also hard to be this almost like jack of all trades
Yeah.
because I do a lot of different things. So it was really hard in the beginning when people are like, you need to niche down and who's your ideal client. And, it's very true. If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. So like
Yeah.
right now, all of my content has been focused around astrology and how using astrology in your business can help you be more successful with
Mm-hmm.
more ease instead of working against, what's happening within yourself and energetically as the collective. How can you leverage that to just be like, oh, I need to push my launch back by a week to avoid the craziness that everybody else is going to be experiencing and they
Yeah.
have no idea. So just looking at it from a way of also infusing the strategy that I've been doing in my professional life for almost 15 years at this point.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know astrology at all. All I know is I'm a Cancer and I don't necessarily fit in with everything that I read about Cancer. That's about all I know.
Mhm.
But yeah, we hear so much about, oh, is Mercury in retrograde or what's going on in the stars because this has been a terrible week or whatever. So we hear about that a lot, but you have the actual tools to really show what's going on this week with each individual person. And it might not be just, oh, all cancers or whatever. It's more personal to your own chart and what's going to be best for
Exactly.
you in your business or personal life for sure. But yeah,
And
yeah.
that's where a lot of people, like that. And this is the cool thing about, hiring me is that
Hmm.
I understand the spiritual aspects
Yeah,
and the business. And there's not too many people that understand both. A lot of people are like
right,
super, super spiritual and they're like, no, I trust. And I'm like, yeah, you can trust until a certain extent. But like, if you don't have some systems and some automation in place, like
right.
you're going to stay stuck at your current income level. And if you're cool with that, awesome.
Hmm.
If you're like, actually, I want to be able to reach more people, I want to impact more people, and I
Yeah,
don't want to burn myself out, then you hire me because I come in and we look at what's there. And
yeah,
one of the posts I put out was about SOPs, and so many people were like, "What's an SOP?"
yeah.
And I'm like, "Yep, you need to come to my masterclass. You need to come because you get there's so much noise and."
There
You
sure is.
hired a
Oof.
VA, great. Did it work for you, or did you just spend money? Because if you didn't have an SOP, aka something that could be turned into a job description
Hmm.
for them to know what to do, you didn't give them the tools to be successful or yourself. So you probably don't have that VA anymore, and you've probably gone through a few because you don't have the things, everything is in your head. It's not written down. This
Yeah,
person is probably not intuitive in that way and tapped in and applying it to their
right.
business. So again, helping you make that money actually function for you. If you're going to delegate, helping you feel comfortable with delegation because okay, this person is going to know to say this and do this and guide this person here. So yeah, it's really coming in to work smarter and not harder. And then
Yeah.
when you have a person like me in the mix, I am one of my favorite hashtags that I use is truth teller coach. Like, I'm not going to BS you. I'm going to be like, have you thought about the journey of this client and what this could feel like from them? Because I have the perspective of being a business owner and a client. So, and I have nothing to lose in this, so I don't
Hmm.
need to stroke your ego and be like, oh
Right.
my gosh, this program's amazing. I could be like, have you thought about this middle section here and like
Hmm.
what could be going on for that person? So it's a lot of different dynamics, but a lot of
Yeah.
fun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot of fun and it feels really aligned for where we are right now.
Great. Yeah. And it sounds like it's really personal to each individual person. Do you work with people in groups or just one-on-one or in person or
Both,
remotely or
all.
everything? A
It
little
has
bit of
turned,
everything.
yeah, it's actually when I first started, everything was online, and now like I work in a local studio here in Southern California, so I'll be teaching. It's a class called Cosmic Breath tomorrow morning. So like
Nice.
you can absolutely catch me in person locally on a weekly basis, and that'll be opening up. I've been teaching some workshops over there too, so I do both, which has been really wasn't in my original like business plan per
Hmm.
se. But yeah, that's, the referrals have been coming from people actually experiencing me because they came to a class or a
Yeah.
workshop and then they're like, how do I, after class, they're like, can I talk to you more? Can you read my chart? And I'm like, oh yeah, here's my QR code. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really, really awesome because they're not, I do a lot of networking and stuff, of course, but I get to just be in my own magic and my own
Yeah.
flow. And that's so much better than a discovery call or so much better than, just
Right.
always being on Zoom. So it does feel good to have the option to do both. And I do now, which
Yeah.
is, I love it. I didn't think I
Yeah.
was going to love it as much as I do, but I do.
Right. Right. No, I understand. So you have a link tree.
Mhm.
You're on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and are you on TikTok as well? So what is, and of course you have a website. So what's the best place for people to reach out to you?
Honestly, Instagram. I
Okay.
have a presence on all of the platforms, even Blue
Mm-hmm.
Sky and some of the
Oh,
ones that
okay.
are like up and coming.
Yeah.
But the place where I'm intentionally posting and interacting every single day is Instagram right now.
Okay.
I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups. I've
Yeah.
gone through all the phases.
Yeah.
So with this particular launch, I'm like making it, I'm also taking my own advice, right? Like those who
Mm-hmm.
can't do teach. So I am keeping it super simple, focusing on one platform. Like I'll get the notification and see it. So if somebody were to reach out on TikTok, it's not a
Okay.
problem. But like that content is not getting updated as regularly. And as far as just like me popping on to my stories and talking from day to day, which I tend to do when I'm driving to and from work or waiting for
Yeah.
my kids to get out of practice, whatever the case may be. Yeah, so Instagram is like my primary
Okay.
for right now, but yeah, the I try to just keep the booking links and stuff in Linktree, and then of course my website if people want to do more
Okay.
research. If they're a Virgo sun like me and they're like want to check me out a little bit more, they can.
A Virgo sun like you. Okay. And if you don't know what that means, reach out to her.
Yes. Because even when you said the can like it totally tracks that you're a Cancer sun, but without your moon and rising, like there's so much more to it. When people are like, I'm this and my partner's that, are we compatible? I'm like, I can't even give you an educated answer without
There's
at
more
least
information. Yeah.
at least the big three, and there's
Yeah.
still so much more to look at, and there's niches within astrology that we will not. But yeah, there's so many different complexities, but like the sun sign is just like not enough to. So it totally makes sense that you're like, yeah, I don't really like fully resonate with what I've read and everything, because probably not a Cancer moon and a Cancer rising. Um,
Yeah.
because you would know it totally makes sense like the daily horoscopes are can be conflicting when you don't know what part you want to look at. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and I understand that. I don't like dismiss astrology at all. I 100% believe that everything about you can be traced back to the time you were born, where you were born, your birth date, of course.
When you're going down that rabbit hole, and I kind of astrology and human design like came into my life around the same time, and
Hmm.
I saw very quickly that I had to make a decision and do one or the other. I
Okay.
do go do both at the same time because I still work full time. I have kids. Like I have
Yeah,
there's I have a
it's so much to learn
yeah.
anything fully. It's like it takes
There's
a
so
lot.
much.
Yeah,
And I've been
yeah,
studying for, years now, and I'm
yeah,
still studying, and I still work with an astrology mentor, and I still read books, and I still, you
yeah.
know, it's a lot. So
It
like
is a lot.
I
Yeah,
decided to fully dedicate myself to astrology. So like I know my human design. I can have, an educated conversation about it. Same with
yeah.
numerology. Like I know the super basics, but when it gets into doing that as a service for
Hmm.
somebody, I would use my four line in human design and refer them to somebody that I know
Yeah.
that is more of an expert that takes the same time and intention for, that modality that I do for astrology.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing I want to ask too, but you mentioned that theta healing is something that is relatively newer than a lot of the other holistic modalities. Can you explain what that is for people who might not have ever heard of it?
Yes, so the creator of Theta Healing is actually still alive and
Mm,
lives in Montana, which is like I just find that to be super fascinating because
yeah,
usually, like Reiki is thousands of years old and
that's
breath work is
exactly what I
thousands of
was
years.
thinking.
So like you don't, even with Reiki, I'm trained in a couple different types of Reiki, but
Hmm.
it has this super ancient lineage. So Theta
Right.
Healing, long story short, is a meditative method that as a practitioner, I go into the theta brainwave state, at which point we connect to whatever you call, I try to be
Hmm.
very loose with the language of creator, source, God.
Yeah.
I use the words interchangeably, but basically we go in and we ask questions based on, whatever the issue is. Powerful piece about this is that when you're working with a client one-on-one with theta healing is we
Yeah.
go for the bottom beliefs. We don't go for the top, they come to you because they say like, "Oh, I'm having trouble with my worth." that
Mm.
might not be yours. That
Mm.
might be a surface level what's present for you right now
Yeah.
because of your current life and, decisions and all, everybody has free will. But the cool thing with theta healing for me has been being able to go and find out actually you've brought that in from 5, 6 generations ago,
Wow.
and this is just what it has evolved into for you. This is how it's representing in you right now, and we get to go in and reprogram and remove that belief and replace it with something more. So the
Hmm.
generational healing that can occur with theta healing. So for me, I haven't really done a ton of like strictly theta healing sessions because it
Hmm.
it has blended in with my other
Sure.
modalities and the Reiki especially and intuitiveness, because once I'm in and I have that person's consent, it's all about what is coming through and asking them, do you want to know what I'm hearing? Do you want to know what I'm seeing? Do you want to know what I'm
Yeah.
feeling? And then seeing how that resonates with them. And then, Virgo again, problem solver. I want to fix the thing. I don't want to just deal with what's here, because we deal with what's here. And
Yeah.
this, the subconscious just keeps swirling under there. So you think,
Right.
you're fine per se, as fine can be. And, a month or two later, you're like, damn it, I thought I
Right.
worked on this. And, not that people are like, oh, that was a waste of money or, anything, or like, I thought this, it's kind of
Right.
like going to therapy. There's so much more as you uncover.
Right.
So yeah, that's a super, super powerful. But there's different segues into theta
Okay.
healing. So I'm an advanced practitioner, and like the last course I did was one of the courses was digging for bottom beliefs. So being able to stay in that theta state and continue to ask that person questions
Yeah.
based on what information is coming up and get to the root of it, remove it from there, and then we can move forward. So again,
Yeah.
all falling back into the name of the company and
Yeah.
like true transformation, not just, I could never
Right.
see myself, no shade to anybody that does this, but like it's so much bigger than 10K months, it's so
Yeah.
much bigger than, especially when you're dealing with the spirituality piece and the holistic piece, it's so much more than your next money goal. Like your next money goal might not be anything related to your business. It might be you.
Yeah. The analogy I like to use for something like that is like the dandelions, we can pick the dandelion. Oh, I got rid of that dandelion. And then next week, it doesn't
It's
take a
back.
month. And next week it's back. You've got to get
hmm
all the way down into that root to really solve that problem in your lawn. So,
And that's the cool thing with me is that like I said, I don't typically do a ton of like one-on-one strictly theta healing.
yeah.
So if we're in a one-on-one healing type of session and it comes up, like you get to access that because it's something else that I'm
Yeah.
trained in. And that was a part of I had never even heard of theta healing before
Right.
my mentor
Yeah.
introduced it to me, and it was so pivotal for me. I'm
Hmm.
just like, it reminds me of the first time I ever experienced breath work where,
Hmm.
again, before I ever wanted to start a business or anything, I literally went up to the person that facilitated and said, "Oh my God, how did I not know this existed? And how do
Yeah.
I bring it to other people? Like how
Yeah.
does everybody not do this on a regular basis? I don't
Yeah.
understand."
Right. And a lot of times that's, I think, how people grow with their businesses and their practices is we experience a new modality for our own healing or within ourselves. And it's like, hey, how can I integrate this and help people even further for those who it might be more beneficial than another modality that I do? Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people, and I, I say this as a Black woman too, like a lot of these things carry a lot of generational trauma,
Yeah.
cultural trauma,
Oof.
where I know for a fact, and just from my own experiences in the containers, I'm usually one of few, if not the only woman of color
Mm.
in there, and being able to give people access, marginalized communities in particular,
Yeah.
to something with somebody that has some probable common similar lived experience. And it's not just this picture of, some rich white identified woman on a beach in a flowy skirt. You
Right.
know, come meditate with me.
Yeah.
Like there's so much more to it with a lot of these ancient practices. But, you know, growing up, I was taught to fear this stuff. I went
Hmm.
to, you know, Catholic school and very much grew up in the church and
Yeah.
all of the things. So there's a lot of other layers and components of like how I bring things forward too. And it's kind of why I identify more as a guide than even a coach or
Yeah.
strategist. Like, you know, there's all these different words that they essentially mean the same thing, but it's like
Hmm.
I want to help guide you to learn how to do what's best for you. You don't have to
Yeah.
follow my system. You don't need to do my, you know, and that's where I went wrong in the beginning. It was like, well,
Mm.
this worked for me, so it has to work for other people.
Right.
No, it doesn't. Like that was
Right.
for me at that time, and being able to grow and change and
Hmm.
offer in a way that, you know, resonates for the people. Because as you grow, your client avatar grows, it
Yeah.
changes, it evolves. So, just being able to keep up with all of the own, you know, your own change and your business.
Yeah, I love that. I learned so much from just these conversations. And even, I have talked to other people who do some of the same similar things that you do, but I love getting the different perspectives and how different people, how they come to it and how they work with their clients and the different explanations. I love it so much. So, yeah. So, is there anything that you would like to share or make sure that people know before we go?
I would definitely say follow me because
Yeah,
the biggest thing about me is I'm always on my own journey, but I do take, you know, obviously I take some steps back and like some things are more private than others.
sure.
But I it blows my mind to even look at memories that popped up today and it to be a year later and I'm like I'm a different person than I was last week. So
Right.
you know, I'm now a person that wakes up on a Saturday morning and the first thing I do is grab protein and go to the gym. And you couldn't have paid me to go to the gym 6 months ago. So like just all of the things. But yeah, so I am in the midst of launching. I do have a master class coming up and that replay will be available on the page on my website for that. Taken not like moving communities off of social media or anything like that, but I will have that replay posted there. And then I'm launching back
Okay.
end Biz Baddie, where I'm helping spiritual entrepreneurs get their back end businesses together and align their systems for their own energy and not their coaches or the container where they learned that magic trick.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be an ongoing offering. That program actually will be starting in June. It's a 12-week
Okay.
container, so it'll be kind of cycling through every 3 months or so. Yeah, and then there's always I'll be doing like pop-up, you know, astrology workshops and things like that. So I just say follow me because
Yeah.
who knows? But yeah, breath work happening locally, in person and virtual. I'll be offering. But yeah, they'll always be updated on my Linktree and of course on my
Okay.
Instagram. And we'll see how things work with other platforms and
Yeah.
hitting one more button to post it
Right.
there.
Right, right.
But yeah.
Okay, great. So, yeah, read the description below, whether you're watching or listening. Please read the description below. I know a lot of people don't do that, but we'll put all your links to everywhere that they can find you in that description. And if you say your website, what is your website name?
It is connect.metanoiainnovativesolutions.com.
Okay, and we'll have that, all of that in that description. So one thing I want to say before we go, though, that I have glaucoma. So I have a burst blood vessel in my eye right now, and I don't know if it's visible or not. It's actually in this eye, but just in case anybody notices, that's what's going on, and it's okay. It doesn't hurt or anything. It looks worse than it is. It might not even be showing up on camera, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it.
And honestly, like until you pointed it out, then I saw it.
Okay.
So that will probably be so if you're listening or watching and you like now have the visual, like we're not alone because we've been sitting here talking and I'm like, didn't see it until you said it.
Great. Okay. Well, my husband said, don't mention it. They won't notice it, but I had to because I was self-conscious about it. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Taylor, for being my guest today.
Yeah,
I've
thank you
learned a
for having
lot,
me.
and I know that my audience will have learned a lot. And if you're listening to this on the podcast platforms, you can visit the YouTube channel, which is just my name, Pamela Topchian, and there's a playlist for Holistic Connections. And if you're watching, check us out on the podcast platforms, Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. Thanks again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.